to my favorite show of the year, everybody. Fantasy football preview here on Seth and Sean Sports Radio. It says Cayman's over there and Sean over here, but Cayman's is no yet to be found. Hopefully he is not on holiday yet. He goes tomorrow. So hopefully he will be joining us momentarily. You can find myself, Sean, at SULawyer2001 on the Twitter or Facebook or whatnot. Here's Seth. He is joining momentarily. And you can find Seth Caymans at S Caymans. And both of us, wow, you got some window going on there, a little bit bright in the background. Whoa. You know, the sun is shining on Seth Caymans as he goes on vacation tomorrow. Look at that. How you feeling, buddy? How you feeling?
Tired, man. Tired.
Puerto Rico does wonders for people that are tired, except for the fact that you have two kids that are coming along with you.
That is true.
But you do have
parents. I'm still going to Puerto Rico.
Well, you do have parents. So hopefully the parents, you'll get a nice nap on the sand while Labor Day college football starts. Syracuse probably going to get pummeled by Louisville this Saturday, but we're not here to talk about college football. We did that last week. This week, first of all, welcome to the show, everybody. We'd like to know, has your draft concluded? Your draft started about eight or 9 days ago now, last Friday. So, no, 7 days, I guess, 6 or 7. It's now done? We're done?
It is now done. The second of 5, I should say. I think my team is pretty stacked.
Okay.
I told you I like it.
Yeah.
It's got super flex 2-3-1-1. So I'll quickly Herbert, Brady, Deshaun Watson, and Mayfield at the Q. Kamara, Jones, Edwards-Helaire, Penny, and Walker at the running backs. Waller at tight end. And my wideouts are Jefferson, Hopkins, Godwin, Wilson, Brandon Ayuk.
Right. So you're looking a couple of things, and we'll touch upon this in a little bit, but Darren Waller went back to practice today. So he will probably be cleared for week 1. Can't imagine he won't be unless he has a recurrence of that injury. Whether that was an injury just to get a new contract or not, as we have seen a lot, the hold-ins rather than the hold-outs in NFL training camp. This is I don't particularly like your running back situation or your wideout situation for the first 6 weeks. I love it for after that, right? I think this is a league where you have won the titles when you went 6-7 last year in the regular season. So all you got to do is really get to the playoffs, and your team is made for the playoffs. I mean, if everybody's healthy, that is a stacked team.
Yeah, I mean, my running backs I'm fine with. I'm only starting 2. So Kamara, I'm perfectly fine with Kamara and Aaron Jones. Look, do I love Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Not especially. But as a 3rd or 4th running back, he's fine. And the combination of Walker and Penny gives me another starting running back, depending on who's playing. So, and my wideouts start out weak because we don't know when Godwin comes in. And Hopkins is out for 6 weeks. But that being said, I mean, it may be an interesting situation that by week 13, Tom Brady's on my bench in a 2 QB league.
Yeah. And the other thing is, did you get Pickett at the end? Did you?
No, I took Watson.
Okay. Oh, you took Deshaun Watson at the end. Yeah. So
17th round. Wow.
So next year's keeper, we know who you're keeping, at least one of the quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
It'll be Deshaun Watson and probably Herbert too. So you
can't keep more than 1 year. So
okay, so maybe Deshaun and Baker, depending on what Baker does. The irony of this is, ladies and gentlemen, when we started this podcast and we started playing fantasy, first of all, Seth and I have never played in a league against each other.
No.
We have never played in a league, which I think we should at some point play in a league against each other.
Well, the problem is I've talked to you about starting a dynasty.
And I'm in for it.
Here's the problem I have, though. I am in leagues with everybody I know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to start to do another one. So I'm in 5 leagues.
Yeah.
One old school for my friends from the city, one for my networking group, one for my development where I live. One with Sean, where we're in the Bate Isles League, and one is with my best friend from Hoboken. So, I mean, I use this to a degree as an excuse to talk to people, to keep in touch with people. There's nobody else.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. But you and I have talked about a dynasty league, and I think what'll probably happen is your 5 leagues will eventually simmer down, because that's actually what's happened with me. Is that the way I was going with this originally, what I was starting with is that you and I are not in a league where we're against each other. But when we started these podcasts, I was in 7 leagues and you were in 3. And gradually it has gone like this, where I am now only in 2 leagues. Like, that's it. I'm in 2 leagues and a pick'em league. And I think actually I'm in 2 pick'em leagues. One is picking the games straight out, and one is picking them based on spreads. So I'm in 2 pick'em leagues. But I'm in one fantasy league I've been in now 22 years, which is amazing. It's the one I started back in undergrad when we played on Sportsline, when nobody knew what fantasy was and people were picking defenses and kickers in the first 2 rounds. I remember distinctly the Cleveland Browns defense went in the first round, and Mike Van.
In my league that's 20 years old, which I'm supposed to name, but I have no idea what to name it.
20 years, we're old.
20 years, fuck, we're old.
We're old. There you go. 20 years and we're old. Yeah, I mean, and I remember Vanderjack went in the second round.
Vanderjack went in the second round in one of our
leagues.
Right,
and the thing was, back at that time, and we'll get to our preview in a little bit, but back at that time, nobody knew how to value defense. Defense was either too valuable or not valuable enough, and nobody really knew what the right stats were. So you were doing yards against. You were giving You were giving 2 points for a sack. You were giving 7 points for a touchdown, and you weren't deducting enough points. If you were giving points for 0 to 10, as opposed to deducting points starting at 10. So I remember the Dolphins defense one week got 38 points, and they won the game just because 38 points. To get 38 points out of a defense in today's standard leagues would be a shutout, 2 touchdowns, 4 sacks, and an INT. Like, it would be the perfect defensive game. And it can happen. It's just, you got to get those 2 touchdowns. And that's pretty hard for a defense to score twice. It's hard enough for a defense to score once. Yeah. But I remember the Dolphins putting up like 32 and beating me. But then again, Doug Flutie beat me in the Super Bowl, putting up 52. So, I mean, in week 7.
Not that you're bitter or anything.
Oh, no, we enacted the Doug Flutie rule. Like, this guy so our Super Bowl used to be, and again, this is when we were just trying stuff out. Our Super Bowl used to be a combination of week 16 and week 17. So you didn't have a week that was free. So everybody played all the time, week 16 and 17. And this guy who I was playing, his name is Matt Weissman. You know him well. He basically turned over his entire team during the playoffs. He just did free agent after free agent, and he picked up Doug Flutie in week 17 when he did the drop kick, right? So he got a point for a drop kick, point after attempt, and he put a 52 in week 17 and beat me by like 30. Even though he had no business being in that game to begin with. So the rule in our league now is that once you get to the playoffs, rosters are frozen. There is no pickups. There is no adds or drops unless the guy is out for the season. That is the only time you can pick up. So it makes it the waivers in week 12 are a little bit more advanced than, say, a normal waiver, because you're picking up a backup tight end, right, who you would never have, and a backup defense, and probably a backup quarterback. If you have Tom Brady going the whole year, you're probably not going to have another quarterback on your team. So, but it is interesting how I'm now in 2 leagues, one with you, one this 20-year league, and I'm in nothing else. And that's okay. Like, I got enough on my plate, and I'm actually the commissioner of that league as well. So that probably plays into it. Like, today I was harassing.
Maybe we run a dynasty jointly.
Yeah, we can do that.
Because I don't have everyone I know who would do the league is in leagues. So
well, that's the problem with me. So what we'd probably have to get is half your people and half my people, and we'd have to say
probably get 5 or 6.
Right, and I could probably get 5 or 6, and that's what we'd have to do. So definitely, yeah. So we can definitely work on it.
It's a discussion for next year, but in the meantime,
it's a discussion we have every year, by the way.
No, we haven't talked about starting a joint league before. I've talked about starting one. I haven't talked about it jointly.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So what did you see so you've had one draft? Is that it? Just one? Two drafts. What have you been seeing as far as your draft? What have you been seeing as far as a tendency?
I'm actually pulling up my draft as we speak. The first one's impossible because what happens is it's the one league I have not figured out. I'm 3 years in. And to be fair, I had the best record in the league last year, lost in the first round. I had the best team in the league, lost in the first round of the playoffs by 2 points. It happens. But that league is impossible to gauge because the first 30 players, it's auction, and everyone goes 25% above what it should be.
Wait, the first 30 players is auction, and after that?
I'm just saying everything is auction.
Oh, okay.
Like literally the first hour, I can't do anything because you have Saquon Barkley going for $65. It goes like that. Lamar Jackson went for $70. I mean, the numbers are absolutely absurd.
So you just waited out?
I waited it out, and then this year I got impatient because I literally had an hour, 15 minutes in, I had no players. And Sean and I have had this issue before where.
And I love this issue, by the way. I'm the only person in the world that can sit out an hour and a half of a draft and be perfectly fine.
Right. Well, the problem is there's less and less. So every league I do except for one is 2 QB or Q Superflex. So I ended up doing okay. My running backs are terrible, but my QBs and wide routes are fine. Mm-hmm. And I'll pick up running backs, throughout the year. But sure. It went higher than I thought. On the other league, I'm pulling up actually the draft as we speak. But it was nothing unusual. It just took a week and a half. It's 2 QB, so the QBs did not go as quickly as I thought they would have.
So the QBs have actually lasted longer than you thought, even in a 2 QB league.
Yeah, I was surprised.
So I thoroughly but that was in a snake draft, not in an auction draft, right?
Right. In an auction draft, the value goes up significantly. For instance, I debated keeping Ryan. I kept Justin Herbert, which is a no-brainer at 15. But it's a $200. We have a $200 pool. But I really didn't want to keep Ryan Tannehill, and I would have kept him at 5. But he's Ryan Tannehill. So I ended up.
I'm looking at look. I'm using the PPR Leagues cheat sheet that ESPN has. Okay. I'd probably be comfortable with anyone in the top 16 as far as QBs. Even in a 2 QB league. Certainly in a 1 QB league, I'd certainly be. So Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Jackson, Murray, Hurts, Prescott, Brady, Rodgers, Wilson, Burrow, Stafford. That's your top 12. I'm not if I'm in a snake draft, I'm not drafting before round 6 or 7.
In a 2 QB league?
No. I'm saying in a 1 QB league.
Agreed.
I'm able to get any of those. I'm happy. So now we're going 13 is Trey Lance, 14 is Carr, 15 is Cousins, 16 is Lawrence. I'm okay with any of those. Again, I'm okay with any of those. That's where I think the bar drops. So yes. The next one is Tua, Fields, Jones. There are definitely some in here that I think are better than their rankings. I think Winston is better. I think Carson Wentz is better. I love Matt Ryan this year, for where he's situated. I think Baker's going to have a big year in Carolina. We both love Davis Mills, not because we love Davis Mills to throw for 4,000 yards. but we love Davis Mills because we could probably get him in round 12, or we can get him for $4.
Right. He went, just to give you an idea, I took Baker Mayfield as my number 3 in the 12th round.
Yeah.
Davis Mills went in the 14th round.
Right. And this is a two QB league.
2 QB league. Matt Ryan and Trevor Lawrence went in the 7th and 8th. Jamal Winston went in the 7th. As I said, they went later than I thought they would have.
Yeah. So I really like Winston. Like, I think I like that Saints offense. It's a matter of whether it can hold up, right? Trevor Penning gets hurt this week. He's going to be out indefinitely, at least for a couple of weeks.
He's like Kyle Turley. He's like Kyle Turley part 2.
There's nothing wrong with Kyle Turley.
Nope.
Look, I missed the World Series game winner because of Kyle Turley. That's the only thing I remember about Kyle Turley. When Luis Gonzalez got that hit off Mariano Rivera, Kyle Turley was throwing his helmet in the Jets game on Monday Night Football. So I missed the game winner because I was wondering how many games Turley was going to get suspended against the Jets.
So
that just tells you how popular the NFL is as opposed to Major League Baseball.
Right. So to give you an idea, I'm just looking right here in my draft. So I was the only person who kept any quarterbacks. So I kept Herbert in the 4th and Brady in the 5th.
Well, but you kept quarterbacks at those rounds too, right? Yes. So if last year Mahomes went in round 1 and let's say Murray went in round 3, it's not an apples to apples. You kept them because you had them in the 4th and 5th. If you had them in round 1 and 2, you probably would not have kept them.
I would not have kept them.
Right.
So, but I'm just giving you a quick overview for a 2 QB. Allen, Mahomes, and Jackson went in the 1st round.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts went in the 2nd round. Burrow, Stafford, and Murray went, and Russell Wilson went in the 3rd round. I guess it's not as bad. Rodgers, Prescott, and Carr and Herbert went in the 4th. Brady, Cup, Cousins went in the 5th.
Okay. Yeah. And that's where I'd start. Round 6 is where I'd start getting quarterbacks. Like so I'm keeping in my one league with keepers in a snake. I'm keeping Javonte Williams in round 6. I think that's a pretty good keeper. Right. But I probably will not take a quarterback until after the 6th round. It's a 1 quarterback league. I don't see any reason to do that.
I agree. If I would be much happier taking Derek Carr in the 6th or 7th, or Kirk Cousins in the 6th or 7th round than
Pat Mahomes in round 2.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
If he falls to a round 4 or 5, then you have a discussion.
So can you get any more job security than Jared Goff right now? And I say that because the Lions released both the number 2 and number 3 quarterback yesterday. David Blah, and I don't remember who the number 3 guy was, but they released both. So they have 1 quarterback on their roster right now. So Jared Goff is the unquestionable quarterback of the Detroit Lions. Now, what that means, I have no idea.
Yeah, it means nothing.
He's a starting quarterback in the NFL.
He's a starting quarterback for this year.
Well, in the 2 quarterback league, that's important, right?
Yes.
I mean, you and I have played David Blah before in the game.
There's a reason we lost in the semifinals that year.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, we've been in this league 11 years, 12 years, something like that. We've missed the playoffs once.
Under 500 once.
Under 500. We've been to the finals, I think, 7 times and won it twice.
Yeah.
Including and lost to some of the
we won 3 out of 4.
Okay, so we won 3. And the one we lost is the one that we remember because that was the Ricky Clausen.
Jimmy Clausen here. All right, so talk to me about so if we're in a 2 QB league and we're 20 minutes in already. If you're in a 2 QB league, who are your guys that you're looking at late, right? That you like my guy is Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan is severely undervalued this year. I think him moving from Atlanta to Indianapolis, where he has quality wide receivers. And I say quality with a hedge because it's better than what he had in Atlanta. is
Well, I mean, look, Atlanta's number one receiver didn't play last year and isn't playing this year. And they
correct.
just took the number one pick. They took Drake London. So
Correct.
I'm not sure you can really make that argument, but Atlanta's going nowhere this year. They may be the worst team in the NFL. So, and when we
Well,
have
I like to hear that, considering I think the Jets are going to be in that discussion. But the Indies got Alec Pierce. They have obviously Michael Pittman. Right. Well, I mean, I was going back, and then I actually like their tight end as Mo Alley Cox as a sleeper tight end if you need one. If you need one, look, Mo Alley Cox.
Who the hell is Mo Alley Cox?
Mo Alley. Don't
Mo Alley Cox.
Don't bring them together. Mo Alley Cox.
Condensed. It sounded like a porn name, for God's sake.
Not Mo Alley Cox. Mo Alley Cox. So I think he's got, and obviously he has Jonathan Taylor behind him, which he did not in Atlanta. He had none of that. He had Kyle Pitts. He had Kyle Pitts. That's what he had last year. How early are you taking a tight end? So we looked at the quarterbacks. Let's go to the tight ends. The question is, how early is too early? And where is the bridge? Where is the
Well, okay. So we have the first tier, which is Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce. There's nobody else in that tier.
You don't put Pitts in that category.
No.
Okay.
No. Pitts is in your second tier. Now that's around around the second end of the second, beginning of the third round.
That's Andrews and Kelce. So second into third on the turn.
Right. Then you have your next 3 to 4, which is Waller, Kittle, Pitts. I think that's the 3. Am I missing one, or does that sound about right?
I mean, the next 2 I would put are Dalton Schultz and Goddard. But
again, I'll stick with my 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
So to me, I have those kind of end of round 4, round 5, beginning of round 6. So I took Darren Waller, who I think bounces back this year because he's not the number one wideout. He's not going to be double teamed, and he's an athletic freak if he's healthy. I took Darren Waller in this league at the end of round 6.
Okay.
He was the last pick of round 6. Then you kind of go to the Dalton Schultz, TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz. We're kind of round 8, round 9. And then from after that, look, you have a guy like Freiermuth, who you can get late, who I think Cole Kmet, who I'm not
Gesicki. I mean, you got Gesicki there as well with now that Tyreek
supposedly Gesicki.
Well, he's going to block a little bit more, but it doesn't matter. When you have Tyreek Hill bringing 2 guys up the field and Jalen Waddle underneath, you got Mike TD Gesicki coming across the middle. I look, if you're looking for a guy late, Dawson Knox or Mike Gesicki, either one of those guys works for me. I mean,
I like Freiermuth better, but
I agree, and I like Cole Kmet because who else is he throwing it to? Darnell Mooney. That's it. I mean, maybe David Montgomery, but I do. So you think round 5, round 6 for those 3. And then you're dropping to what? Round 9, 10, 11?
No, for Hawkinson, I think in Schultz, I think you're around 8, round 8. And then I think you have a drop below that.
I mean, I'm always the guy, I will tell you flat out, I'm always the guy that picks the tight end first in our league. It became so funny that people were actually saying, okay, when are you taking Tony Gonzalez? Because Tony Gonzalez would always be in round 2 for me. It just would be inherently round 2. It would be Gonzalez. And because I feel that if you get a top-notch tight end, you have a leg up.
The difference between a number 1 tight end and the number 6 tight end is much bigger than the difference between the number 1 wideout and the number 6 wideout.
Now, to be fair, I've never won that league, so I can't really say.
You are the Susan Lucci.
I am. I've been in 22 years. I think I've been in the Super Bowl 8 or 9. Never won it. So, but in that league, what I always come down to is I draft for trades that never happen. Like I draft, and then I draft like 7 running backs. It makes no sense, but I always look for value rather than looking for composition of a team. So in this league, it's only a one quarterback league. So you have one quarterback, one running back, two wide receivers, and one flex and a tight end. So it's a small league. It's a small positional league. But no, I think we made it 2-2. Yeah, we made it 1-3 or 2-2. So it is a small positional league, fewer players. But I seem to always draft more and more running backs towards the end of the draft, and then I'm always questioning which running back to play on a week-to-week basis. That's the bigger problem.
Well, I think the way we all feel is this: tight end, unless you have a top 5 to 6 tight end, the tight end is relatively fluid. If I have Ertz versus Freiermuth, I think you're streaming it. Whoever they're playing.
To be fair, we did change this last year. You have to play 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. So you have to play 2 running backs, which in the past it was one and it was either 2 and 2 or 1 and 3. We did change it to 2 and 2 plus a flex. So you have to play 2 running backs. So maybe my strategy might work this year. I don't know. But I think you're right. It's how much is the difference between number 1 tight end and number 6 tight end, or number 1 running back and number 6 running back? And I don't. So
it's smaller. And you always need the most running backs, as running backs get injured the most.
Correct.
I mean, logically speaking. So, example is even what did I do with this draft? I had the number 1 pick. Now it's a keeper. Taylor was capped. Eckler was capped. Harris was capped. Henry was capped. But there were running backs out there. McCaffrey was there. Cook was there. Chubb was there. Saquon was there. I went number 1 overall pick in the draft. I went wide out because I wanted someone with a high floor that had a high ceiling where I think they're going to play 16 or 17 games, whatever it is, or 16 out of 17 games. How do I feel that way about McCaffrey? How do I feel that way about Cook?
Right. And we're going to get into the running backs next, because I think the X factor of any draft is Christian McCaffrey, right?
Yes.
I mean, in general, it's Christian McCaffrey. So Alvin Kamara, well, you don't know, but it is likely that Alvin Kamara will not serve a suspension this year. He will serve it next year.
Which is why I took him where I did.
Right. No, I'm just saying, so there's nothing there. ESPN has Chubb at like number 15 on their list, which I think is a little low for me. They also have Barkley ahead of Chubb, which I think is a little high for Barkley. But if you're looking for – I'm looking at this list. I agree with Taylor being number 1. I think that's the consensus. I agree with McCaffrey being number 2. Now, it's a risk-reward scenario, but I agree with him being there. Eckler 3, I have no concerns with Eckler 3, especially since Sonny Michel just signed with them today. Sonny Michel's not taking any time from Austin Eckler. And the thing is, Austin Eckler doesn't get hurt because he doesn't play every down. He knows when he takes himself out for Justice Jackson, right? He takes himself out for those guys. Then you got Henry, Najee Harris, Kamara, and then Dalvin Cook. And I have yet to have Dalvin Cook on any team. He scares me more than McCaffrey does. I mean, I'd rather take Alex Mattison in round 16 as the handcuff for Cook, because I know he'll get 2 to 3 games for Dalvin Cook. But you keep going down, and here are your surprises. So Mixon is next. I think I'd have Mixon probably above Cook. I'm a big fan of Mixon. He does it every year. DeAndre Swift, and then Fournette, and then Javonte Williams. And I get the whole Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, but what do you think of Fournette? Fournette here is a top 10 back. Is Fournette really a top 10 back? And then James Conner, by the way, is number 12.
No, Fournette is not a top 10 back to me. Fournette is playing, first of all, Tampa Bay's offensive line scares the living crap out of me. And more because Marple leaving, Jensen leaving. Now, again, I have Brady, so it's a little hypocritical. But Fournette, don't have Fournette that high.
I will tell you, I think it's a lot easier to have Brady than it is to Fournette with a bad offensive line. because Brady, knows when it's coming down and gets rid of the ball. Fournette's still got to follow a block, and if the block ain't there, it ain't going to matter.
Yeah. Swift, let me see it for a year. I mean, but again, at that point, look, you can take that position that he's the 3-down back. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He was like number 5 before he got hurt last year. I just don't know when he's ever fully healthy.
Correct. James Conner going that high and James Conner going ahead of it. I mean, again,
I don't get it.
I'm looking at ESPN. They have him at $33 ahead of Aaron Jones, Barkley, Cam Akers, Nick Chubb, and David Montgomery. I don't get any of that.
Because Connor had a lot of 1 year and I like Connor, but Connor had a lot of 1-yard plunges last year.
Well, Connor averaged 3.7 yards per carry last year. That doesn't get it done unless you're at the goal line.
No, he was the goal line back.
Right. But there's no goal line. There's no other back this year.
Right, which gives you a value, but he doesn't really catch the ball out of the backfield.
Nope.
And so I'm a little hesitant when I see a guy averaging, as you said, less than 4 yards a rush, who pretty much you're touchdown dependent.
Look, the
5 guys below him, they're not touchdown dependent.
Right. And we were big fans of James Conner. We had him on our team for a number of years. Like we are charter members of the James Conner fan club, along with any B that comes out of Pittsburgh, Ben, Bell, Brown. Right. Any of those three. We rode them for a good amount of time. But he's on my do not draft list. James Conner is on my absolute, like, as much as he got pub last year, he scored 18 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, I don't see that happening again.
I mean, come on. Like, right now it looks like he's going around round 3. No. In
the league I did, he was a keeper at round 12 last year because he wasn't supposed to start.
Right. And I got him in he's a keeper in round 9 for our league. So that's fine. Like I'm okay. I actually last year kept Jace Edmonds at round 16. So that didn't exactly help me as he did absolutely nothing. But yeah, that's why you draft running backs late so you can keep them, like Javonte Williams at 6. But all right, so talk to me. Breece Hall, your thoughts. Because I'm wearing a Jet shirt. I will tell you flat out, the only Jet I've ever had on a fantasy league team is CJ Mosley. The only one. I do not draft Jet players. As a rule, they suck. But even more so, they suck for fantasy purposes. No, that's not true. I had Wayne Corbett for 1 year. So just because I had Wayne Corbett. But that's it. Like, so is Breece Hall going to be the anomaly and Jet that can actually make a difference in a fantasy league?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be, for all intents and purposes, a 2.5 down back. I'm not sure how by the middle to end of the year. Actually, the guy above him on the ESPN kind of seems like the pretty good facsimile in David Montgomery.
Montgomery can do it, and Montgomery doesn't have anybody else there. That's the difference.
Well, the question is, what do you really consider Michael Carter as someone who's there?
That's a good point.
Just because you have a guy behind him doesn't mean not everyone is Jared Goff. I think Dak Prescott has the same thing, by the way, right now with no backup quarterback. I actually like Montgomery a lot this year.
Yes.
Breece Hall is probably a better pick because I look at Chicago's offensive line. It's a dumpster fire. I look at the Jets' offensive line. It should be a top 7 line in the league. And you look at
Taylor. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because
your team's still not going anywhere.
No. Wow. Okay. But we'll talk about that next week.
Where is the weakness on your offensive line? There may not be. I mean, look, Trent Brown's 86 years old. So
Dwayne Brown.
Excuse me. He's 86 years old. So that aside, he's been a very good player through the years. Vera Taylor, as you know, I wanted.
Vera Tucker's a great player. I like Vera Tucker. look, I think
You got the guy from San Francisco.
they have absolutely zero depth. Zero.
Sure.
So one injury, and these guys are toast. Lake Tomlinson, I love. Like,
right.
I'm a big
but
fan.
I'm saying you have a nice line.
Yeah.
As long as they stay healthy.
Right. Well,
but look, I can't base things on someone might get.
No, I understand, but offensive line is generally the place of all places where people get hurt. It's and of course, I mean, look at Tampa Bay, right? Tampa Bay had one retirement and 3 injuries, and now who the heck are they? They may be playing jet castoffs next week. I don't know. But they'll still get
that 7 Jets were picked up that were picked up by other teams. Do you have more talent than we know about?
No.
Okay, then I don't understand.
No, I don't think we do anyway. But anyway, okay. So you like Breece Hall? You like Breece Hall as a starting running back?
Yes, and he's an RB2.
Okay.
Like, I don't, unless you have a guy like Adrian Peterson coming out of college, where the talent is so overwhelming.
Yep.
It's really hard to take a rookie running back and say, "Hey, this guy should be this. This is my linchpin." Like people even Najee last year. Nobody really thought he ended up being an RB1 in some places, but he was really an RB1 because he got the ball 8,347 times, not because of what he did with it. If you look up his average, I don't think it was very high.
I get it. Yeah. So anyway, okay. So let's keep going. Another one on my do not disturb list, or do not disturb me because I don't have time for him, is Ezekiel Elliott. Because I'm done with him. I have drafted him in the top 2 rounds 3 times in the last 4 years. Done. He may come back and rush for 2,000 yards this year. More power to him. But Seth, he will not be on either one. He will not be on our team. There is no chance.
I think I just look at it as a value play. They have him as number 20 as a running back. If you're drafting him in the 8th or 9th round or 10th round as an RB2/flex, I don't think you can go wrong.
Okay, so let's play the game. So you have a chance of Miles Sanders or Ezekiel Elliott.
I would go Ezekiel Elliott.
Okay. Ezekiel Elliott or Travis Etienne Jr.?
Keeper or no?
No, just this year you're drafting straight up. Because it doesn't matter on the round, because that's what a keeper would be. Let's say it's round 1 and you have to pick one of them. Who are you picking?
Well, if it's round 1 and I have to pick one of them, my team is going to fucking hell.
No, I guess the point is,
I get it.
Keepers into this.
Look, I can't take Sanders because Sanders gets hurt all the time, and he didn't score a touchdown last year.
Okay. How about Elijah Mitchell or Elliott?
Elliott.
Okay. J.K. Dobbins or Elliott?
Dobbins.
Tony Pollard or Elliott? That's a great question.
I think, again, if you have one pick, if you have the first pick of the 7th round and those are your 2 choices, you take Elliott. However, you're going to get Pollard in the 12th or 13th round. That's a better value. It's all based on where you can get them.
So I will tell you, I had both of them on my team last year. And it sucked because every single time I played Pollard, Elliott went off. And every time I played Elliott, Pollard went off. In our league that you and I play in, return yards actually do count, which lends itself more in the Pollard category than it does in the Elliott category. Okay. Hilaire. So you have to pick 2 out of 3. Hilaire, Dameon Pierce, or Ezekiel Elliott?
Dameon Pierce, because they don't even have a backup running back.
Okay.
And at least you don't know what you're getting.
Planet Houston. Yep.
Zeke, but I'm not ecstatic about it.
Okay, let's play it again. Antonio Gibson, you have to pick 3 out of the 4. No, 2 out of the 4. Chase Edmonds, Antonio Gibson, Cordell Patterson, or Ezekiel Elliott?
I'm not taking – who was the first? Chase Edmonds. Because Miami's running game is just is Rasheed. I have a feeling Mostert's going to end up starting once he gets. Mostert's the best player of that in Miami on the running game. He just has to forget Edmonds,
who just signed a whale of a contract, by the way.
Edmonds, yeah, I know.
So now you're picking 2 out of 3 between Antonio Gibson, Cordell Patterson, or Ezekiel Elliott.
I'm taking Antonio Gibson simply because Brian Robinson was shot, and there's no other running back there.
Well, there is. It's J.D. McKissick.
Right, but J.D. McKissick is also number 1. He's injured, and number 2,
he's a third down back.
He's a third down back.
Okay.
I would. That's hard. I would probably go Zeke, but I'm not really ecstatic.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm actually so happy that Seth is not ecstatic of ever taking Zeke Elliott, because it means that when we actually get to this auction, this will be an easy, I don't want him. And Seth will be like, okay. Like, it does happen from time to time where we both look at each other and we're like, no, like, absolutely not. And I think one of those players this year will be Saquon Barkley. Is I don't think you want to touch this guy with a 10-foot ball.
It depends on where the value, where we are or we are.
Well,
you have to remember so we have a tendency to wait because we typically keep,
and we do well by waiting. By the way, let's not go.
Fine.
Yeah, we've done fine.
But right now we are in the interesting position of our keepers are very good and they're very cheap.
Which means we can have them for a bunch for a couple
Which means
years.
We can spend on a couple people, and we typically don't spend on quarterbacks.
Yep.
As you said, and this is why do I get confused in my neighborhood league, the one where everyone goes 25% above? Because Sean and I don't spend more than $25 on quarterbacks, and literally Matthew Stafford went for 40.
Yeah.
I mean, Jalen Hurts went for 60. Like
we
numbers are so high.
We drafted Aaron Rodgers. First of all, twice in our league. The first year we drafted him at 71, which was my problem. And that was the first year. First year, that wasn't in this league, though. That was in a different
That was the league we got kicked out of.
Yes, right, for being too good. So,
was that what it was?
Well, no, because we challenged the meritocracy that was at the helm when we asked Vinny some questions, and he didn't like the questions. So we got kicked out of that league. And so we drafted him at 71 when I made a fatal error on Hurricane Sandy of pressing a spacebar too early. And then we drafted him at 25, and it made me cringe last year drafting Aaron Rodgers at 25. Now, he did help us get to the finals, but it did make me cringe. Okay, we got 17 minutes. So the biggest group of players is wideouts. It always is, right? I know you picked Justin Jefferson first overall in your league. I agreed with you based on the keepers in that league. But is that a strategy going forward? Is that a strategy if you have a two running back, 3 wide receiver, and you don't have keepers? Let's say there are no keepers and you're just drafting straight. Is it a strategy once you get past the Jonathan Taylor and let's say Jonathan Taylor, McCaffrey, and Eckler, let's say top 3, right? Maybe Henry in their top 4. Is that a strategy people should look to do? Is Cooper Kupp a top 5 pick this year?
I think it depends. The way I look at it is there are 60 wide receivers out there.
Yep.
There are realistically 30 running backs.
Yeah.
So now I've seen someone do the no running back format.
And win?
Rami's done it too. Rami does it every year.
I think that would give me anxiety up the wazoo.
You would have a bleeping heart attack.
Yeah.
And I did it to a degree this year where I accentuated my wide receivers because I have DJ Moore, McLaren, AJ Brown, and Keenan Allen much more than my running backs. And all 3 of them are all risks. But he has 1 running back, and it's Tony Pollard. So
can he play 1 running back at a time, or does he?
No, he just picks everybody up in free agent and just spends like crazy.
Wow. Okay.
It's a ballsy way to do it.
I think I'd have a panic attack especially in the playoffs. Like, how does that work in the playoffs? He gets the D'Angelo Williams. He bids like $85 on the first running back that's injured and gets his running back.
Yep, that's how he does it.
Okay.
So
Well, that's a way.
I think what the realistic way to do it is tiers. Is okay. I know a running back most likely is more valuable than a wide receiver.
Yep.
So my running back tier 1 of Taylor, McCaffrey, and Eckler and Henry.
Yep.
Trumps Cup, Jefferson, Chase.
Okay.
I think your next tier of Kamara, Harris, Mixon. I think Jefferson, Chase, Cup are right there. But I think the realistic hope is I'm going to get Justin Jefferson at number 7, and I'm going to get Kamara at 12, on 13 on the way back. I don't think you can go wide out, unless you're getting Cup, Jefferson, Chase. Where your wide receivers are so ridiculous. I think it's really hard to do that.
So if your first 6 picks are Taylor, McCaffrey, Eckler, Cup, Jefferson, Chase, your opinion have to go running back. There's no you can't.
Because you can get Devontae Adams typically on the flip, and Adams is probably your consensus number 4.
Or Debo, yeah.
I mean, look, either way.
Yeah, so you're right.
To me,
you're right.
I would rather have Kamara and then either have Debo or Diggs or Devontae on the flip, or then take Adams. And then, or you can do it the other way and say, look, I'm going to take Cook, and on the flip, I'm going to take Mark Andrews.
Right. So you're looking at tight ends as an extension of a wideout in that case.
Right, but exactly. But then in the 3rd round, I can take Keenan Allen, who's going to get me 100 catches, 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns. You can wait on wide receivers. Now,
so where's the break in wide receivers? So I'm looking at this, and you have obviously Cup, Jefferson, Chase is your first row, right? Adams, Samuel, Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill. That's probably your second. Then it's Allen, Higgins, Evans, Moore, Pittman. Probably your 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, I mean, going by these numbers, do my rankings personally agree with this? Not particularly.
No, because I don't like Marquise Brown anywhere close to 20.
No, I don't think so either.
But where does the tail off, right? I think that the tail off is about 34 or 35. So in this ESPN, 34 is actually Rashad Bateman. Right before him is Adam Thielen. I think that's where your break is, at about 30 wide receivers. So,
30 wide receivers to be what? To be starters?
Yes.
Okay, so what? Well, then that makes it a lot more difficult because most leagues you don't have 2 running backs, 2 wideouts. You have 2 running backs, 3 wideouts.
Right. So
you're trying to get 30 wide receivers into 3.
No, I'm saying. I'm sorry. When I say 30 wide receivers are your undisputed starters. After that, you're mixing and matching.
Yeah.
So those 30 guys are likely going to start every single week. You are not going to have to touch them. Once you get past them and you're in your Drake Londons, Kristen Kirks, Tyler Lockett's, Devontae Smith, Elijah Moore, Kadarius Toney, who I actually like Kadarius Toney this year. Like, he's one of those guys where if he actually plays, he's going to get 1,000 yards because you saw Kenny Golladay and how well he blocks. I mean, that is right.
Unfortunately, that's the best thing he's done for the Giants.
No. He doesn't block. Did you see that?
I did, and I heard about it. Yeah. I heard
the screen where he just said, I give up. Like it. Yeah. Anyway, but those guys, you're going to be mixing and matching all year. You're going to be playing the opponent. So you're not going to play. You're not going to play. Let's put Christian Kirk against Ahmed Saucier. It's not going to happen. Ahmed Gardner.
Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, Sauce Gardner. You're not going to play that matchup. You're going to find another guy. But are you going to play Jerry Jeudy against Gardner? Yes, you will. Every single time. And you'll play Amari Cooper against him every single time. Like those guys you'll play. It doesn't matter who the matchup is. So I think once you get down to the 30 or 35, 40, then you're looking at who are guys that can make a team better and will get the catches.
you're looking at the prospect and saying, like last year in one of my leagues, I picked up Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yep.
In week 12.
And you
and
killed
I
it.
won the league because of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And
Right.
Rashard.
So we got 10 minutes. Who are we looking at? Jacoby Myers? Like, who are we looking at? No, I'm saying
I'm not touching anyone wide out.
After those 30 guys, give me some guys that you're looking at and saying, okay, like DeAndre Hopkins, you're going to get back in week 6. So you hope that I love Robert Woods. I think Robert Woods is one of those guys that I want on both my teams this year because they have nobody else to catch the damn ball. And Tannehill loves to throw short routes because Tannehill is a little bit better of an arm than Chad Pennington, which is say he's a little bit better of an arm than me, which is not much of an arm at all. So, look, Chad Pennington's the most brilliant quarterback I ever saw on a football field. He was probably the least athletically talented football player I've ever seen on a football field. He got by with if he had Tom Brady's arm, he'd have 5 Super Bowls. But anyway, that being said, Robert Woods, DeAndre Hopkins to me, even Chris Olave, like those guys. Like I like those guys.
I think you're looking at some of these rookies and seeing, okay, where could I do I take a run at a Drake London the sky's the limit. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jaleel Dotson is looking fantastic down in Washington.
Yep. And
you also look at, okay, who of these guys may be a number 1, like a Lazard, which I don't love Lazard, but at least I agree. Rodgers is going to have to throw the ball to somebody, which is why I'm befuddled how Aaron Jones is number 13 on the running back list.
And A.J. Dillon is like 40.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me at all.
35, sorry.
Yeah,
35.
It makes no sense to me at all. You may we'll see. You'll see possibly George Pickens down out of Pittsburgh because people are down on Pittsburgh's wideouts because they don't know who's throwing because nobody knows how the quarterback's going to be.
Pickett's charge.
It's what?
Kenny Pickett's charge. Didn't you know that?
Yeah, General Pickett. Yeah. So I mean, but he may be waiting a year. They may play Trubisky. Who the heck knows?
Yep.
I mean, you're looking at you pretty much you have your base 10 to 12 guys, and then you throw a couple at the wall. Like with me, I took Kenneth Walker III, and I took Garrett Wilson. If one of them makes something out of it, fantastic.
And you took them low enough that you can keep them if you needed to next year. If they become number 1s, those are your keepers.
Right. And my assumption is I'm keeping Deshaun Watson no matter what. Because he's 17th round. Why wouldn't I?
Yep.
But
you look at guys like Christian Watson in Green Bay or Alec Pierce in Indy, or even somebody, if you want to take a real risk, Jameson Williams in Detroit. Because he's going to come back later. He just has Jared Goff throwing him the ball, the undisputed leader of the Detroit Lions throwing him the ball.
Does that make you feel good to say that?
That there's an undisputed leader of the Detroit Lions? Yes. I'd like there to be an undisputed leader.
Have you been watching Hard Knocks with Dan? The Detroit Lions Hard Knocks?
Not at all.
Fun.
Well, Dan Campbell's great. No, I've been dealing with I'm in the 3rd season of the Blacklist right now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We got to get into a job.
I only got about 100 more episodes to go.
Hey, it's one of the few shows I have watched for 9 years straight on network TV. It's good.
Okay, so defense, which we all know is touch and go. When do you pick a defense? Last round?
I took the Packer in my draft. I took the Packers in the 16th round.
Out of how many? 18.
And the only reason I took them in the 16th and not the 17th was because I had the end pick.
Yeah.
Okay. I was doing the big hand thing. So that way I could take Deshaun Watson as a keeper in the 17th round versus the 16th.
And how about kickers? Last pick?
Yeah. I mean, what I've realized with defense is at one point I used to keep 2 or 3 so I could just rotate them in and out.
That's what I usually do.
And now
it doesn't work either.
No, now I just kind of get the feeling, screw it. If I want a defense, I'll drop the Packers and pick up whoever.
Yeah.
Nobody can control it. So why bother?
All right, we got 5 minutes left. Let's go. I'll go real quick. Last week I touched upon the fact that the Mets were holding their first Old Timers Day since 84, when we were like 6 years old. 8 years old, excuse me. Congratulations to Jay Horowitz and Steve Cohen, because they pulled off something that gave me chills. I watched it from 2:30 in the afternoon to 8 o'clock at night. Chills watching the Old Timers, especially just coming out time after time, like different players from different eras, including a 79-year-old that was pitching in the Old Timers game. Now, remember, the Yankees used to have an Old Timers game. They don't play that game anymore. So they still have Old Timers Day. They just don't have an Old Timers game. And then the coup de grace, how you keep a uniform retirement ceremony secret, and of the magnitude of Willie Mays. Congratulations to whoever did that, because you would think there would have been a leak somewhere. You would think that it would not be a surprise by somebody. And for all those haters out there that are saying that the Mets should not have retired Willie Mays' number, look, I hear you. I hear the fact that he was only a Met for 2 years. I hear you. But the one thing that those people who say that don't know or don't appreciate is the Mets are a combination of the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants. They have always been that way. That is why you have the blue from the Dodgers and the orange from the Giants. And to have Jackie Robinson out there being retired, and granted, he is retired and he should be celebrated every single year for what he went through, without having somebody from the Giants to make that whole, I think was a mistake. I think it gets the point across. And trust me, Gil Hodges wasn't only retired because he was a Met, and Gacy Stengel wasn't only retired because he was a Met. So if you want to have an argument, start talking about them too. So all in all, amazing. I'll watch it next year. In fact, next year I might go. I loved it that much. So kudos to those guys.
Okay. So because we did our fantasy football preview this week, and we have our NFL preview next week, we're really not going to get a chance to discuss the evolution, I guess, of possibly the greatest female athlete of all time out of her sport into whatever comes next. That, of course, being Serena Williams. As Sean knows, I am a tennis player. I'm a tennis fan. The debate of whether Serena is the greatest tennis player of all time is a couplefold. Number one, she's won 22 Grand Slams. Steffi Graf won it in half the time. Martino won 82 and 2. It doesn't really matter. Generationally, Serena Williams is not only the greatest women's tennis player of all time, she's probably the greatest female athlete of all time. And to be a top 5 player for 20 some odd years, what she has gone through, what she has done. And look, she has not been perfect through this, going back to the Naomi Osaka final in the US Open. But she has done, she is getting an incredible amount of accolades at this point, and they are well deserved. Because when we do next time we do the 100 greatest athletes of all time, I will be, other than maybe Babe Zaharias, I don't know of a female athlete you're going to have higher. And realistically, based upon where her career has ended, you can put her with I talk about the pantheon of greats when I talk about Hall of Fames and I talk about these kind of lists. She is at the top of the pantheon. Best of luck.
Absolutely. Okay, so next week we have our Wednesday show, NFL preview, where I will tell you that the Jets will win no more than 5 games. It may be less, but I love the fact that you said that the Falcons are going to be the worst team in the NFL, because unfortunately I think the Jets will again. And
how do you think the Jets are going to be that bad this year?
We'll talk about this next week.
Is there something I don't know?
Yeah, it's called Look at Their Schedule, my friend. It is just not a good one. All right, we'll talk next week. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Happy Labor Day.